Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is part of Altenew's video hop for their Marvelous monthly release. Today I am going to be using one of the new sets, which is the Build a Garden Japanese Anemone, which is beautiful. And then I'm also going to be using some older products. Before we get into what we're doing, let's tackle the video hop things. So obviously there's a video before mine and a video after mine for you to hop along to, and there are prizes to be won. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the wonderful people in the hop, because they've all spent a lot of time, and Altenew is very generous in their giveaways. They're doing one $100 gift certificate and 4 $50 gift certificates. So really great giveaway. And so this video is 1000% inspired by Mindy Egan. If you are not familiar with Mindy's work, she is fantastic. Big fan of hers. And so I saw a similar type card and I was like, oh, that's beautiful. I want to remake that, but in a different way. So here what I'm doing is, this is a Canson Monteval watercolor paper, and this is the Walk in the Woods. You can see it's a well-loved stamp set. I just wanted to put some texture in the background. You could use whatever background stamps or embossing folders or cover plates, just something to make the background a bit more interesting. So I did stamp this in Versamark. You saw me with my little pouncer kind of around the edges because I didn't want it to be solid. I didn't want a solid background. I just wanted a section of it in the center, I guess. And then I am embossing this with sparkle embossing powder. You can see all that beautiful glitter. This is a clear embossing powder that has glitter in it. And since I'm just using it for texture in the background, why would I not want to make it glittery? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I just heat set this until it was smooth. And for the other one, I'm going to use a 3D embossing folder. So we're just going to paint that background as is. I'm using distress inks for this, so that way I could do the watercoloring and it would match my ink blending. Like they would all be matchy-matchy. You know how I feel about that. And so I'm just kind of like swiping on some color down on my glass mat from each of the ink pads. And then when I first started, I was like, okay, let me just see if I can put down color where I want it to. And then, I'll kind of add. So this is just a wet on dry technique. And it's not the look I was going for. I wanted it to have much more movement. And in order to have much more movement, I need to have much more water. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and get my little mister. I sprayed the one on the right at kind of a diagonal, and I sprayed the one on the left mostly to the right, like the right middle section. Because I just knew in my head how I wanted to place my flowers. And so there's no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing outside of the fact that I'm trying to put colors that work nicely together next to each other so it doesn't become a muddy mess. But other than that, I'm just plopping down color. I should say this is a number 3 brush from Altenew. They have 2 different watercolor sets. They have like a regular and a detailed. I have both of them and do very much enjoy them. So yeah, just working my way down both backgrounds. And again, this does not need to be perfect because we're going to be putting our colored pieces over top of them. This is just a background accent. And you don't even need this part to do the like super easy rainbow technique for the florals. This is just the background that I chose to do because I like a washy watercolor. And then I also like spatters. I love spatters. Not everybody likes spatters, but I'm going to spatter this up as soon as I'm done getting my color down where I want it. And like on the one on the right, you can see that it's already like that resist is already coming through. You're not even going to be able to recognize it as wood grain because there's not enough of it on there, but it doesn't matter because the point of it is the texture. It's not the look of the wood grain. You know what I'm saying? There, I did get a little bit of ink pooling, so I just blotted that up with a clean paper towel. And you, of course, can always do that with your watercolors. If you get an area that is too dark, you can blot it up. So I spattered on some clean water just to get it moving and have some like bleach spots. That would be more so if I let it dry, put the water on it, and then blotted it up. But I just wanted to move the pigment a little bit, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to do spatters for every color. But I am going to spare you the spatters in every color because it is the same process over and over, over and over again. So just know that I did go through every single color, and that's the final result you see here. And then you will see them dry here. Really happy with the way that they came out. And so I'm going to set the one that has the heat embossed background to the side, and then I'm going to do the 3D embossing. I spritzed the front of my card, but you could of course spritz the back of your card if you wanted to make sure none of your pigment was going to move. And it's just a really light spritz to help my paper to keep from cracking when I run it through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 to add the embossing to it. And again, super love the way that that one came out, and it's just for the texture to kind of break up that background. That's the whole purpose of it. You can literally use whatever you have on hand. Altenew has lots of great backgrounds and embossing folders and stuff, so whatever you have, go with them. It makes your heart happy. For the stamping, I am going to stamp both of these. This particular one, this is the new one, this is the Japanese anemone, is such a generously sized floral, and I cannot tell you enough how much I love a large floral. Like, as somebody who enjoys coloring and who enjoys flowers, like, I just love them so much. They're so pretty. And then this is the Ambridge Rose set. Back in October of last year, I taught a virtual retreat for Altenew, and this was one of the sets that we used. So if you took that class, you should already have this. If not, you could purchase it now if you love it. And so I am stamping this one as well. In both of them, I use the Obsidian pigment ink. It's just really great black ink. So I'm going to use my stamp wheel. Obviously, I used it for my stamping, but I'm going to use it to hold my stencil as well. Because I turned my image so that it would all fit, I didn't want to leave any of it off. I wanted to use every bit of this large floral. That means I did have to turn it in the stamp wheel in order to be able to fit my stencil on top of it. So that is why the card is a bit cattywampus, but the stencil is straight up and down. And then from there, this is the fun part. This is so freeing. Just put down rainbows. No, I mean, so I did try to pay attention to the colors that blended together, of course. You know, I tried not to mix a yellow and a purple or a blue and an orange, complementary colors that would make brown. But really, you're just going to layer the colors on top of each other and let them mix and be rainbowy and be beautiful. The one that I saw Mindy do it with was actually seashells. So this little rainbow look, like, I used it for florals because I love flowers, but honestly, it will work with any layering stamp. And it doesn't, this particular laying stamp, I think, has 4. Does it have 4? I feel like it does. Will it tell me? Do you know? Let's see. No, I'm sorry. It has 5. It has 5 stencils. So there's a lot to layer, and eventually I think I have already. Have I? No, I don't think I've sped it up yet, but I'm going to, because it's a lot of rainbow stenciling. But the other one, and that's why I wanted to, of course, I like to show you guys, things with multiple products to let you know that, you really can do it with whatever you want to do it with. But I chose these two particularly because this one has multiple layers of stencils to get through, and the other one only has 2. And it works for both. I just approached it a little bit differently. So for this one, I did each individual layer with all of the colors. So here I just got out a little piece of tape to mask it so I didn't get ink anywhere I didn't want it. Only because, like, the background doesn't matter. I'm going to die cut this out. But I wasn't sure how close my die cut would be. And so I didn't want any errant ink on the edges of my white outline for my die. So I did all of the colors in every layer. So obviously in each layer you don't see all of the petals aren't being colored at the same time. That's how layering stencils work, Kelly. And so I just tried to make sure that they were represented. I think I was a little bit I think I was a little bit nervous about leaving out the less flowery colors, like the peacock feathers and the greens and the blue and maybe a little bit yellow. And so I think it ended up being a bit heavier on those colors just because I was so paranoid about not including them. So now that that one is done, there on this first stencil, there is one extra little leaf on the right hand side here that also goes to this that flower on the right. So the leaf is on the right, or the petal is on the right, and this is the flower is on the right. So there's just that one that you got to line up, and then you remove that stencil and you do the next. It's not the next layer of color, it's the next layer stencil, which is just more petals. And so I just went through and did the same thing. Here you can see I'm being pretty I'm being pretty generous with the peacock feathers and the salty ocean. And maybe that's where it kind of got away from me. I don't really mind it because I think it adds to the overall rainbow look. But you definitely could, wouldn't necessarily have to do rainbows with this. You could pare it down with like one or two colors and not have to do them so traditionally, with like a light, a medium, and a dark, or, whatever. You could do them randomly and still end up with a really beautiful result. And like I said, you could do this with multiple different kinds of stencils. It doesn't have to be florals. But I really like it. I really love the way it looks. And hers, I remember seeing her little seashells and I was like, oh my word. Like, girl, that is so good. It's so pretty. Like, I just love a rainbow. I don't want to leave any of the colors out. So yeah, so that's what we're doing there. And then when we get to the next stencil, we'll talk about that. So here, this is the first like actual layer on top of other color, and you can clearly see the color that's underneath it. So I did try to pay attention to that so that I wouldn't have contrasting colors that were laying on top of one another. Like, I did try to pay some attention. I wasn't like super vigilant about it, but I did try to keep it in mind to make sure that my things were going to work with being layered on top of one another. Sometimes that worked out, sometimes it didn't. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect to be pretty, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because I still think it's pretty and it's not perfect, and that's okay. So yeah, that's that. And what have I done? I've done a video every single day this week. And so, like, those of you who are like, I love story time, y'all, I ain't got no stories left, because I just tell you stories about my life. But I've been with you all week, so I don't even have a story time. I don't even know that I could come up with something to share with you that has happened to me this week that I have not already shared. I've even talked to you about my weekend plans that haven't even happened yet. So last night, I guess my hubby did end up getting kind of stuck at work later than we originally anticipated. And so it was a girls' night. Peanut was with his dad. And so it was just me and the jelly bean. Me and the little jelly bean. And have you ever read the book, The Hungry Hungry Caterpillar? We read it a lot. We read 2 stories a night before bedtime and 1 story for nap. So we read quite a bit. And so in the book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, it talks about how all the things the caterpillar eats. And it's on Saturday, it ate through 1 piece of salami, 1 piece of cherry pie, 1 strawberry, 1 plum, 1 this, 1 that. And it's like a whole long list. And so that's how I felt about my daughter last night. She ate goldfish when we got home. She had a little baggie of goldfish crackers. And then she had, we did pizza. We didn't order pizza. We just made it at home because she likes bread and sauce. She's my daughter. And so she had 3 pieces of pizza minus the crust, but she, eats the cheese and all that stuff. And then she had 2 strawberries, and then she had a handful of pretzels, and then she ate 1 crouton. And so when my husband sent me sent me a text. He was like, how's it going? And I listed out all the things she ate. I then told him I expect her to turn into a butterfly by Saturday, because that's what happens in the very hungry caterpillar. He eats all that stuff and then he goes into his cocoon and then he wakes up as a beautiful butterfly. So yeah, we had a healthy dinner of pizza, because it was just me and her and I didn't have to feed anybody else. So I had pizza and salad, she had pizza and a lot of other things. So here, this one is done now. I think it's a super fun look. And then for the next one, like I told you, there's only 2 stencils. So this one is completely open. So it's not separated. The petals aren't separated. So my approach to the inking was a little bit different. I worked in kind of like a pie formation. So I started with the pink and then went to the purple next to that. I almost worked like a color wheel. So pink, then purple, then blue green, then yellow, then orange, and then the orange connects back to the pink. And so the reason that this approach works so well with kind of like this open stenciling is because then all of the colors that play nicely together are directly next to each other. So then with that being done, and I think that this looks really pretty on its own, but for the next layer, I almost like turned it one click. So I just took each of the colors and went right next door. So for the pink, I added purple for my layer. For the orange, I added pink. For the yellow, I added orange, so on and so forth. So I just like turned my color wheel one notch. And then that way I knew that they would all work nicely together, because they would all be next to their analogous colors, or be on top of their analogous colors. So I'm not going to show you this whole thing because we just did it, but I just wanted to show you the different approach in case this is the type of stencil that you have. I know that quite a few of Altenew's layering stencils are like that. So I did the leaves as well, and then this is that image all completed. Again, I love this one. I think it's a super fun look. They both look very different, but obviously use the same technique. And then I'm going to cut them out with their coordinating dies. In addition to cutting them out, now remember, like the watercolor paper is our background, so we already have a thicker background, but I did want these to have a little bit of height. So in addition to cutting them out with the die cut, like the colored version, I also cut out 2 more of white for each one of these so that I could stack them up and give them a little bit of height. Altenew does a really great job of their dies cutting relatively close to their images and all of the cutouts so that you can see the background through that. And so I don't want to have to go through with all like the foam tapes. You know what I'm saying? And then I also cut out a hello and a friend from I think it's the XO sentiment dies. And I'm going to pair that with some sentiments from the Japanese anemone set. So originally I thought that I was going to use them as like one like square label with more black around them. I did end up trimming them down, and for the one that says sending you a warm hug, I ended up trimming it into 2. So when you see it in the background, it's actually one square or rectangle. It's a rectangle, Kelly. Know your shapes. But I did end up trimming it into 2. So once I was happy with the way that this was looking, and this is probably like the best shot of that emboss resist that you're going to get before I cover it up with these beautiful flowers. And I did, again, have to angle them slightly just so that it fit on an A2 size card. If you make 5x7 cards, this would also work really nicely and you'd still have a pretty good border. And then after that, I'm going to put my sentiments together. So this little teeny tiny hello will get glued onto its shadow. For the friend, I did not save the eye. I just want to be clear about that. The little dot for the eye, it went to be with Jesus. I don't know what happened to it. When I took the die cut out, it was gone. And honestly, I didn't have the energy to look for it. So I just filled it in with a white gel pen. There's a tip for you. There's a tip for you. Just fill it in with a white gel pen. No one will know. They don't know. So because my images are already popped up, I didn't really feel the need to put any more dimensional adhesive on there. I just glued them down flat. So this one on the left says happy birthday friend, and I will just file this away to be used on another day when I need a birthday card. And this one over here that says hello, sending you a warm hug. If I can get my stuff together, because you know I don't even send cards at all ever. If I can get it together, I'm actually going to mail it to a girlfriend of mine. She was recently diagnosed with breast cancer, and so she finally got together with her team of doctors. Thankfully, she came back negative for any of the genetic markers for it. So she did get a surgery date scheduled, and so I just wanted to send her something a little bright and cheerful and let her know that I am thinking of her and praying for her. So let's see if I can get it together. I might have to have Eric do it because, you know, he's my go-to. So for the hello, because it does hang over the stacked up die cut, I did have to use a bit of dimensional adhesive under the H and the E, but that was totally okay. And I don't mind it when it's just a little bit. It's when it's a lot of bit that I don't want to do it. And then, of course, you know, I can't get away without using any rhinestones to accent my sentiments because I love them so much. So I did put on some, what are these? I don't know. I'll link them below. But I did put on some rhinestones to accent that. And then you have to be kind of careful with the next part if you choose to do it. I wanted some more shimmer. I definitely could have done it in a different way, like maybe used glitter paper or something like that. But if you use distress inks like I did, you can move the pigment with a clear glitter pen. I just try to really pay attention to how I'm putting it down. So if I do move any pigment, it's not super noticeable. And then I also went in with a white gel pen, did some highlights on the stamen of the anemones, and then did some highlights on the edges of the petals, just to kind of break up the color, make them more unique, make them more mine, because I like when my cards look like mine and not like other people's. And I think that was the final step for me. So yeah, these are both cards. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you will try this because it's so easy, guys. It's so easy to get beautiful results. And isn't that really just a wonderful technique to have in your back pocket? So please continue along the hop. I think it's open till the 20th for comments, and then they'll announce it on the Altenew blog. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you learned something. I appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.